Quick little disclaimer from editor Justin. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with Mike's microphone. That's a tongue twister. Therefore, you might hear a little bit of distortion on his audio. So we apologize to your ears and enjoy this episode.
We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace. Hello, and welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. On this week's lightning-fast episode, we're going to give our general thoughts on what has to be considered one of the most shocking installments in Oscar history. Joining me on today's show, please welcome back Hogan, subsequent podcast host.
Hello, I am coming here to take an overall big fat L, but I'm pretty snug, if I'm honest with you. I'm not coming into this entirely unhappy, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Welcome. In addition, there's very few movies that this guy would hate. You better believe I'm talking about Nate.
How's it going, Kevin? Listen, I was hoping we would have a quick in memoriam for all the podcasters we lost, but I don't think we have time, so let's keep going.
And when it comes to a host, you know you can be trusting. There's no one finer than our good friend Justin.
Yo, dropping those rhymes. I love it. Love it.
The award for best intros goes to Dr. Seuss. I mean, Kevin.
Well, we had to wait 441 days between installments of the Oscars. And while a lack of a host made for kind of a lackluster show, the awards themselves, one in particular, certainly made up for it. The show was apparently designed to look like a movie with Regina King making an elaborate entrance to start things off. What were you guys' sort of overall thoughts on the way the show was handled?
I loved it.
I thought the opening was actually, it was cool. It was very filmic, right? Very filmetic. Justin, who did they get in to do that?
Soderbergh was the producer, and he kind of led the charge in terms of like giving it a feel and a mood. And it did feel very Oceansy at times. Like even the music choice that they were using at certain points was very, upbeat jazz.
Questlove was incredible.
Yeah, Questlove was great. I actually enjoyed this. I think it was cool that they went down a route of being more production oriented and live broadcast oriented versus the, see actors at home with Zoom with an unreliable connection and that failing them. They had some pods set up, obviously, in LA at the Union Station. They had one, I think, in New York and as well as London and France. They had everything set up accordingly so that it was a very smooth process. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was refreshing. It was a lot better than past shows. A lot less fluff, but there still was a little bit of fluff, but just not as much.
We'll get to the fluff, I'm sure. But I just wanted to quickly shout out as well, Questlove. Like, if he could be the music guy for every Oscars, because literally no one got played off. No one got played off, and we made such a big joke of that in our previous episode, and I was so happy that no one got played off. There were a couple people that might have needed it, but for the most part, I thought it was such a fantastic choice. So get him next year.
A few of those speeches went on, eh? They just let them go.
A little bit. But like at the end of the day, that's what the show is for. That's what they're there for. You know what I mean? That's why we're watching this. We're watching this for these people to give their speeches. We're not watching it for people to, for these fluff pieces that we're used to.
Oh yeah, I love the 16:9 sort of letterbox format that we got. And it sort of had a filmic sheen on it, a filter almost on the camera that really helped. The only thing that I didn't like about the production was that we got a real lack of clips. It was a lot of speeches from the presenters. And while that was quite cool, to an extent, because obviously they're very charismatic people, they're good public speakers, I would have enjoyed to have seen a few more clips of the stuff that was nominated. Not that we needed them, but for people that were watching at home, obviously we may touch on the ratings, but there wasn't really a lot to entice people to watch these movies, I'd say, other than hearing what won.
No, we watched a ton of these movies, as we talked about in our previous episode. We had a lot to say about all of them. But you're right. Like, Mike, one of my favorite things about watching the Oscars, especially for the movies I haven't seen, is seeing those clips. You know, they did show a little bit of a montage for the feature doc that won, and I want to see it now so bad. I messaged Justin right after. I'm like, I got to see that, and most of that was because of the clip that they showed.
Yeah, that is sort of the purpose of those things, and so to have a real lack of that this year was sort of an interesting strategy. But like we said, it did give people more of a chance to sort of accept their award and get the spotlight that they deserved. So last week we made our predictions on what we're going to call the 12 biggest of the categories. So we won't go and break down all 23 awards, but we'll just sort of look at the 12 that we looked at together and made some predictions on last week. It was actually a very tight race between the four of us. The winner had 7 correct out of 12. 2 of us had 6 correct, and then coming in hot to close things off was 5 correct answers.
It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog.
There we go. I'll try and sort of work our way through some of the categories here. Interestingly enough, all 4 of us had selected Nomadland for cinematography, and that certainly did not win.
I'm disappointed in that one.
It was the only one it deserved.
Yep. And it didn't get it. Took home a lot of hardware, but not for the one that I would have actually given it to. So that was quite surprising.
If the movie was shot in a more traditional manner of like classic 1930s, 1940s Hollywood style with film and with specific cameras and lenses, then I would say wholeheartedly Mank deserves the Academy Award for cinematography. However, the reality is that this film was entirely digital, edited in Premiere, and most of its aesthetic was actually attributed to its costume design and set design. And while there was lighting techniques, I don't know if that's enough for really winning the Academy Award for cinematography.
Yeah, I was fine with it winning production design. But yeah, for it to get cinematography was kind of surprising.
I think I just wanted to say the shot of Amanda Seyfried on the pyre, I really enjoyed that scene. But otherwise, yeah, you're exactly right, Justin. Adding a few projector burns as a filter doesn't really count as cinematography for me.
And what a clip, we talked about them showing clips. What a clip to show, him getting his pants taken off, like as if that woman's about to do something to him. And I know that she didn't in the end. She was just being kind. But no, I mean, listen, Mank was more style, I think, in my opinion. It was more filmetic style, like the visual style was amazing. But I don't think it should have won cinematography.
One category or 2 categories, I guess, that I can usually rely on getting correct, I got totally killed on this year. That would be for original screenplay and adapted screenplay. I went 0 for 2 there. It was an excellent call by Mike, Nate, and Justin, all getting Promising Young Woman. So that one, voting with my heart there for Trial of Chicago 7, came back to bite me hard. I knew it would,
It's
too.
Sorkin. You can understand. I mean, voting for Sorkin in a writing category, it's entirely reasonable.
And then with adapted screenplay, I think that one was a bit of a surprise for the father to take that one, as none of us guessed that correctly. So thought that was pretty interesting.
I'm glad that it won that. It deserved it in terms of how it realized itself on the screen. It manifested itself in terms of like the situation that they were in. So it was great.
And then what are our thoughts on best editing going to Sound of Metal? That was a nice, pleasant surprise, eh?
I was very happy to see that. I chose the Trial of the Chicago 7, and I went with the one that I thought was like going to be the Hollywood, looking out for Hollywood one. But I'm glad that the Sound of Metal won, because it deserved it far more than the Trial of the Chicago 7.
It won for sound, and it's almost like it was so good at sound that they're like, yeah, just throw in editing as well.
But they go hand in hand,
it sort of
right?
bleeds
like you
over.
Can't really
exactly.
Have
they
effective sound without effective editing, right? So it makes sense. Like after hearing that they won, I wasn't even mad that I lost that one. I was like ecstatic that they won.
No, I completely agree. I think it was actually yourself, Nate, who brought up, or it might have been Justin, sorry, who mentioned when we were discussing that category how, you're watching a scene and it pulls back and you're seeing the ambient noise in the deaf community, and that's something that maybe we just felt wasn't strong enough to win the category. I know I went with my heart with a lot of categories that let me down, but maybe we underplayed just how important that was to how much we enjoyed Sound of Metal. It was, again, just like adapted screenplay, a very pleasant surprise. Happy for it to walk away with a couple of awards.
No real shocker in the animated feature. Disney takes home another trophy. We all had that one correctly guessed. Another one that came as very little surprise was Chloe Zhao winning for director. I think that one was probably one of the more, the biggest givens of the whole night.
I loved seeing just her acceptance speech and just seeing how humble she was, and I loved seeing her there with Charlene Swanky, she's Swank in Nomadland in the film, who is one of the real life nomads from the movie, and she gives such a wonderful performance. It was just so nice to see her there with, instead of with some other date from Hollywood, like she brings this woman that, normally travels around in her life in an RV. So it was just, I don't know. I thought that was super cool.
I think the biggest surprise to come from this is that we're a few days out, nearly a week, and we've still not had anything Eternals come from Kevin Feige. I would have expected maybe a surprise trailer drop or something, or maybe the next day we get something, but nothing yet.
I totally agree, because I even checked their Twitter to see if they gave any sort of congratulatory sort of tweet to, Chloe Zhao and winning an Oscar, right? Nothing. It has been radio silence on all fronts in terms of acknowledging the fact that she's now an Academy Award, because I think that's one of the first Academy Award winning directors to direct a Marvel film. But yeah, Chloe Zhao deserved that award. She deserved that award for what she set herself out to do, and she achieved something masterful. I think it was fantastic.
Do we need to start being a little bit worried about the Eternals if, we're still not getting any sort of sign from it? Or is it still a bit too early?
We've got Loki, we've got Black Widow, we've got Shang-Chi, which will require a full marketing campaign beforehand. So I wouldn't be necessarily worried. I think maybe Black Widow, if we don't get anything by Black Widow, then maybe be like, what's going on here? At the day of recording, there was a story that broke today. Kevin Feige's come out and said that Chloe Zhao pushed for actual on-set principal photography, and they made a sizzle reel which they had to take to Disney higher-ups in order to get her to make the film the way she wanted. So maybe there's still some post-production work being done on it, but I would expect Loki in a few weeks, Black Widow is when, I believe it's the end of June or the end of July. So yeah, I reckon because obviously there'll be another film, end of series after that, so around then we'll get something.
And I think you mentioned the one property that might have a good lead-in or connection to the Eternals, and that is Loki. I think that we'll see some stuff in that series that might tie into, because that's going to be the one that's going to talk about, branch timeline theory, right? Like that whole series. And I think that, in that sort of cosmic realm of where we find Loki, there's probably going to be some sort of explanation. And I think they'll lead into the Eternals will help lead into things like, Secret Invasion and stuff like that. But this isn't a Marvel podcast right now. It's the Oscars. I'm getting too into it. But you're right, Mike. There's a lot more ahead.
Well, I'll get us back on track then. I think both of the supporting actor awards were pretty standard. I think we got what we expected out of out of those categories.
Still very happy about it.
Very happy. I loved. God, I'm gonna butcher her name.
I've seen it done in 3 different pronunciations now. What we were all saying the other day, what it's written down as, and then how she pronounced her name herself.
Yoon Jung Yoon is how we.
Yoon Jung Yoon.
But don't worry, she forgives you guys.
Yeah, exactly. I loved that. I loved how she said that, and how she was like, "Oh, Brad Pitt, why have we not done a movie together?" Like, she seemed very genuine and authentic in her speech.
Yeah.
I remember in one speech, someone was calling out how Hollywood can be very preachy. It was kind of nice and refreshing to not see someone go up on stage that was necessarily trying to preach something. It was something that came from the heart, that was a little bit more authentic, and it meant something to her. And I guess it just goes to show, she's removed from the sort of social issues that go on in the United States, not much to the other actors and directors and filmmakers that were there that evening.
Yeah, I loved how honest she was, and how like at the end, like she's like, which way do I go get off the stage? And then you see her and Brad Pitt, and he's got her by the arm, and I was just like, listen, couple of the year, let's go. Okay,
I will ship that. I just want to shout out Brad Pitt as well for consistently being the coolest man alive. He turned up like he had an afternoon sampling some of California's finest agriculture. Let's put it that way. And he turned up and he looked like he was having a great time. So good for you, Brad Pitt. And Daniel Kaluuya, fantastic speech. This might not mean anything to you guys, a lot of the people who were in the video, but there was a video circulating around on the day of the Oscars, and it was Daniel Kaluuya, ex-Liverpool player Daniel Sturridge, and then UK musicians Notes and Giggs and Santan Dave, and they're all just hanging out in LA together, just on the strip. No one knows who they are, but in England that would be unfathomable to think of. And the videos of them hanging out afterward, Drake tagging along, because he just seems to really, really want to be from London, and he's not. But I just loved seeing these guys represent British youth, not just black British youth. These are the best of Britain going out to LA and smashing it. And Daniel Kaluuya, I know I picked Lakeith, but so proud of Daniel Kaluuya, and shout out his parents for having sex.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Absolutely.
Those really were, very enjoyable moments. Like I would take, that kind of acceptance speech over Joaquin Phoenix being pretentious for 5 minutes any day. That I much preferred that sort of approach. Now, when Best Picture was brought up at the stage of the show that was quite the shocker, I think.
That was weird. I think everyone thought that they missed. I thought I was on a delay and I had missed everything. I was like checking online, like if I missed it. And then I realized, no, it's still going on.
Yeah, just off that point, like you said, you thought you were on a delay. Just really quick before we continue, like the Oscars need to make this more accessible. They need to make this show, because their ratings I heard were abysmal this year, with 9 million people, I think. Yeah. And so like they need to make it, like put it on YouTube, put it on Disney Plus, right? It's ABC. Like you've got the outlet for it. Make it easier. Don't make people have to subscribe to cable packages just to be able to watch this show, because the people that actually want to watch it will watch it if you make it easier for them. So I don't know. I had too many people come up to me and say, "Oh no, I didn't watch it. I don't have cable."
Yeah, I had people saying to me that it was a disaster, and I do agree that the ratings were bad, but we do have to consider we've had a year when the cinemas have basically been closed for a year. Not many people have seen a lot of these films, so for it still to pull in 9 million, I think the previous year was 21. So for it's a very steep drop, don't get me wrong, but we're going to see that number shoot back up next year, because there's going to be a lot more films that people recognise next year. And it was a bit of an off year in terms of the big hitters in the acting categories, in the directing categories. And we are going to see things like Spielberg. There was the West Side Story trailer drop during the Oscars. So I think next year we are going to see a big uplift. Here, it's on at 1 a.m, so it's only really the dedicated people or the insomniacs or the combination of the two, like myself, who are going to be staying up and watching it. But yeah, I think I understand the worry, but I think it'll be all right. I think it'll sort itself out for next year.
Well, I think the way they ended the show certainly had people talking.
I think we need. I know we had a lot of time shitting on Nomadland, so I think it's only fair we give Nate a moment to bathe in the glory of his film winning. Fair enough, Nate.
I mean,
good for you,
the
mate. Film
won, the director won, the lead actress won. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I feel like to Mike's point of what you were saying earlier, going with your heart, I 100% went with my heart with Minari. I really wanted that movie to win. But Nomadland, I'm happy it won. It obviously was deserving of that award in my mind. And I feel like Minari and Nomadland were like neck and neck in terms of like my favorite movies out of the movies that were nominated. Very, very close tie between the two. But, you know, that being said, you know, it has its faults when you listen to your heart and don't go with the more obvious choice. And that is exactly what happened with this one and with the Best Actress award. With
the placement, as you say, you know, Nate and Justin, you were texting one another regarding Chadwick Boseman. I messaged Kev and was like, holy shit, Best Picture isn't now. Nomadland might not win. This is incredible. We might be getting a shocker, but no, wasn't.
I was hoping for a Moonlight surprise, man. Not necessarily on the same basis of like someone making an error, but like everyone pegged La La Land to win Best Picture, and Moonlight beat it. And you know, I was hoping that would just be another one of those situations here where it's like, oh, everyone's saying Nomadland, but nope, the Academy loved Minari. To me, that's kind of the same thing that happened in editing. Right? Like everyone was pegging something like The Trial of Chicago 7 to win editing for how it digested the information and shared it to the audience. However, Sound of Metal, which was a far better film, did win it. And
can we just take a quick moment before we continue just to talk about Glenn Close doing debut? I mean,
they tried so hard to make a meme out of that, eh? That was like their moment of trying to make a meme so that it would circulate all over the internet of Glenn Close shaking her ass.
I want the GIF. I want the GIF of her doing debut. To be honest with you, that was fantastic. But listen, I was sad that they spent so much time on that, and then that in memoriam. Like, can we talk about that? Like,
yeah,
it was
brutal. An odd song choice as well. It felt like a very ill-fitting song. I know, obviously, they don't want to just pull on your heartstrings for grief purposes, but the speed at which they ran through everyone, the tone of it felt very odd. And that all led to the surprise that ended the night as well. Because there was so little for Chadwick Boseman that it was like, well, obviously Best Actor's gonna end the show, and this is where we'll get the big tribute. Was not to be.
Well, I think we should just jump right in and talk about the 83-year-old elephant in the room. Because that was...
Well, some of us called it, Kev. Some of us called it.
Only one of us called it.
You called
exactly. It. I'll take the L overall, but this one, that was a heart pick that paid through in the end.
But that 83-year-old elephant was not in the room. No. You know, that was the worst
somewhere.
part.
He was asleep in Wales.
So apparently so what I was reading online is that on Monday he posted on his Instagram, because Anthony Hopkins has Instagram.
He's incredible on Instagram if you don't follow him, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, he posts some great stuff actually. I've started following him. Anyways, he posted his thank you speech and recognizing Chadwick Boseman. But he wanted to be there via Zoom, but the Academy wouldn't let him. And that goes, again, back to this idea of what the whole production was meant to be. It was meant to be a very controlled, stylized, much different from something like the Golden Globes, where people were just phoning in from home to accept their award. They didn't allow that. So they just kind of pushed it aside and said, okay, well, we will accept the award on his behalf. But that being said, the performance that stood out, that everyone recognized and remembered, that lingered with them, was Anthony Hopkins, which is 100% true.
To add to your point about him not being able to give an acceptance speech on Zoom, Olivia Colman was in London and was told, if Anthony Hopkins wins, you're going up and accepting for him. And that didn't even happen.
Oh, well, they just announced it and cut off the air. Like, it was...
Bye, everybody.
Well, they were overtime. They were 15 minutes overtime. They always run over, but they were already over. And I love how Joaquin Phoenix comes out and says, oh yeah, they wanted me to talk about acting and finding this and embodying, but technically I don't do that, and I don't know many people that do, so I'll just say that, you know, that just like, I'm like,
I'm thinking like Brad Pitt.
He's so unlikable.
Having people not call in through Zoom, like, again, these are some things that, like, there's cool things that they change, and then there's things that they're just unwilling to change. He's an 83-year-old man in the middle of a pandemic. You're like, no, dude, you got to get here if you're going to want to talk and accept your second Oscar. He could have gotten
to the theater in London. He was in Wales, right? And I get that there could be some reserves based on the coronavirus of why totally understandable. But I think that it just goes to show that they're sticking with the craft of what they're trying to present. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay that they stuck with the craft of trying to do a more televised broadcast awards ceremony to differentiate themselves from the Golden Globes, because they're Hollywood, man. This was a Hollywood award ceremony production. Like, it was well done in that capacity. You know, even as Mike was saying, the camera looked more filmic and cinematic because they used actual cinematic cameras to film everything. So it wasn't just TV broadcast, some guy with a radio headset just, you know, tilting cameras and trying to find people in crowds. It was like actually shot like a movie. So I give them credit for sticking to that, even though it would probably pain them to say, nah, Anthony, we can't. It just doesn't work for what they were trying to achieve.
Then you know what? The Academy knew what the outcome would be. The Academy knew that it wasn't going to be Chadwick at the end. They knew. So step in and say, Soderbergh, listen, we're going to actually put Best Picture at the end. Like, if Chloe Zhao and that whole crew went up there and that was the celebration at the end, what a way better ending than Joaquin Phoenix accepting the award on the behalf of Anthony Hopkins. It was such a big blunder that I think blew up in their face, and
I don't think it did. I don't think it did.
It's just I think it did.
It looked to me as though when Joaquin opened the envelope, he had a oh shit moment look on his face, like, oh, this is not going to go down well. Yeah. It's Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, it was very weird, and that begs the question. So, are we assuming then that the production have no idea of who wins, and it's entirely secretive, and it was a Soderbergh decision that it's a sure bet Chadwick Boseman's going to win. We'll put Best Actor last.
I don't think so. I think I honestly am going with the other side, is saying that they knew that Anthony wasn't going to be there and that he was going to win, right? And that they would just close out the ceremony with that, rather than they knew they were running late. Like, to Nate's point, it could have been a flip through the production. Like, they were halfway through saying, listen, we're going to run overtime, so let's move Best Picture up, right? And then they just started moving the wheels. They could do that. That's very feasible to do in a live broadcast. And then they switched it out because they already knew the order. Because you got to think, like, some of these people that were actually available to actually accept the awards, like in France and in England and so on, you know, there must have been some sort of pull for them to actually go, right? So I don't know. I'm just wondering, to your point, Mike, did they know in advance so that they were able to make sure that the right people were in the right places? And, you know, knowing that the show was going to go overtime, they decided to put the actor because they knew he wasn't going to be there, right? Like, you know, because if they had, to Nate's point, if they had Nomadland show up there on stage, it would have been like, you know, 5 minutes of everyone just talking, right? So, you know.
But it would have been much more hype, dude. It would have been much more celebratory.
It did feel very anticlimactic, because like as soon as they announced it, and it was like, then that was it. That was it, right? Like it was done.
Like, if they want their movie to end that way, sure, that's one option. But, like, I don't know. That's a crappy ending to that movie. I don't know. It just...
Well, isn't it?
And even though you picked the father, Mike, you still couldn't pull out the overall victory. Our champion this year, of course, is Nate. Congratulations.
Woo! Let's go.
Wait,
well done, Nate.
So
that's
Nate
like the first
7th?
time, isn't it? I've never done this before.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, Nate.
Yeah, dude. I got 7th, and then I also joined Kevin's like exterior outside of this, and then what did I place in that one, Kevin?
Sarah ran away with it. She got 42 points, and then everybody else was kind of in a close lock between 35 and 37 points. So
nice. So you'd say second place. Amazing. Okay, I'll take it.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Just like I'm taking a dub for having two individual picks that won, even though dead last, but it's a moral victory.
I'm glad I wasn't in that outside one, man. I would have lost hard. I would have been on the bottom of that barrel list. It would have been horrendous.
Well, there was a few picks where I was thinking more in terms of a competition between the four of us, and my competitive nature came out that I wanted to beat you guys. Hence my Bakalova pick. Hence, like, my prediction of Borat walking away with more awards than Mank was crazy. Who would have pegged that Mank would walk away with more than the Trial of the Chicago 7? I mean...
And that's the thing. I was, like, certain that the Trial of Chicago 7 would walk away with something. And that was my least favorite movie of the 8. I think that it's interesting that like that movie got no recognition, but Mank did. Trial of Chicago 7 could have gotten something.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I had nothing to enjoy the whole evening. It was kind of a bummer in that regard. So,
well, it's quite, obviously Nate had Nomadland. That was his favourite. Justin, I think it's fair to say you said we'll give you Minari. We'll say that was your joint favourite. You got to walk away with something. My favourite, Promising Young Woman, got to walk away with something. And Kevin also watched the Oscars.
Harsh.
Wow.
Well, before we wrap, was there anything else that we wanted to discuss from the show, or have we sort of hit all the main talking points that emerged from the evening?
I'll just say this. Listen, for what was great about the show, because I feel like I mentioned a lot of things that I didn't like about it. I think the pacing was awesome. Go from award to award to award. And yes, if these people want to have 5 minutes of speech of rambling about nothing or rambling about something that's really important to them, let them have it. They won a frickin' award. Let them have it. Get rid of the fluff pieces. Don't do that stuff. Don't do the game that, like, it felt like we were at a wedding. Like, it was like horrible. Like, and like, guess if this song was in a Best Picture, wasn't, or whatever it was. I don't even remember. All I remember is Glen Close doing the butt. So don't do that stuff. And keep the pace going and do the music ahead of time. I thought that was great. In the pre-show, how they did all the songs, those performances were fantastic. They were well recorded. The one in Iceland with the choir in the behind, I was so, my heart, I was like, this is amazing. So just do all this stuff next year and leave the fluff and all that other garbage behind, please. Thank you.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment, Nate. It did have some really good qualities, but also some things that still held it back. And I think, Mike, you mentioned it, the idea that they tried to infuse a more personal approach by having the people that were presenting give a little bit more of a description of who the nominees are and what they did and all sorts of stuff, took away from like the clips and being able to, which could have sped things up in many cases. I feel like, having infused this approach of award to award, minimal fluff, a little bit more intimate in terms of how it's filmed, and then interjecting that clip style in terms of introducing the nominees could have sped them up, and they wouldn't have run 15 minutes over, but it would have still had a really nice pace where it was just boom, 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 award. And to Nate's point again, like it is great to see some of these people win and who they're thanking and whatnot. And if they do get long, what's great is that you can just cut them. You know what I mean? Like you can just literally cut them and then roll the music and then that's it. So, hopefully next year they've learned from this, and maybe it can be, because the biggest argument with the Academy Awards is that it's just always so long and there's always a lot of unnecessary fluff that just prolongs the show. Let's just see the awards and let's move on.
Yeah, I don't need to know that Olivia Colman worked at a McDonald's or whatever, okay? Just show the clips. Okay, Oscars? Thanks.
I think just on music, I just want to quick shout out something we didn't predict. Her winning Best Original Song. Love that. And in terms of, looking forward to next year, I think we're going to see a big push. Did any of you happen to see the sort of trailer that the Academy released with Matthew McConaughey narrating Welcome Back to the Movies? Yes. Have you happened to catch that?
Yeah.
With like a montage
really cool.
of everything that's coming in the next year. So I think we're going to have a big, assuming everything continues on its current path and everything is well and good, I think we'll get a big push next year.
We're in Canada, though.
Welcome Back to the Movies. Say again, sorry?
We're in Canada, though. So it feels like everything is just like maybe like 5 to 6 months behind. You guys are in England, I'm sure, are getting back to some sort of sense of normality.
Yeah, a little bit. But obviously in Hollywood, they're going to make sure all these people, as Regina King said at the start, when the cameras roll, it's masks off. One thing I did find interesting, which I think we'll see more of next year, a trailer drop during the Oscars. I can't remember any other time that we've seen a film, which is pretty Oscar baity. The musical theatre nerd in me adored the West Side Story trailer. You guys will get into it, I'm sure, on a future Watch Club or something. I loved it. I wonder if we'll see that next year more, Oscar bait in air quotes, trailers for that more, because more sort of promotion for upcoming films during the Oscars, because it should be a big celebration of the movies, not just awards, but here's what was great in the last year, and here's what we've got to look forward to.
And like, to that point, yeah, that's how you bring people in. Look at the Game Awards. The Game Awards, every single time you're interested in the Game Awards, it's, hey, there's these companies are going to be debuting their new game at the Game Awards. These trailers are going to probably be at the Game Awards. You tune into the Game Awards, you see the amazing awards. There's no fluff. There's just trailers and announcements in between. It keeps hype going the entire night while celebrating the people that are making those games. But just one more thing in regards to celebrating the people that make these things. As soon as we can travel, can we, all 4 of us, find a way to get to that museum that they're launching? Because that looks incredible.
Yeah, the Academy of
Oh
Motion
my
Pictures
gosh.
Museum. I 100%
so
want to
cool.
go there. That's like...
Right? And then they have this like experience where you can go in and accept an award. Like, you can pretend that you're accepting an Oscar. So Kevin can go in there and pretend that he's winning the Oscar for Trial of the Chicago 7. It'd be great.
Jerks.
Oh, mate.
I'm never going to live that down, am I?
It's going to go for a little while, but yeah.
But, I think it's safe to say that it was an interesting year, given everything that's gone on and just even the caliber of movies that we got. So I am looking forward to hopefully seeing a movie in theaters at some point here in the year coming up, and maybe that'll be a nominee for next year. But you've heard what we thought. We'd love to hear what you have to say about the awards. Did something surprise you other than Anthony Hopkins winning? Were you happy? Were you disappointed? Please let us know. Justin, what's the email that they can let us know that at?
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com.
I think that's just about everything. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. 5 stars is the lowest score you can leave. We are Geekcentric, and you can be too, which means you can also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. Follow us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT, and follow us on Instagram at We Are Geekcentric. Mike, what are you working on with the other guys this week?
So this week we've got the new Michael B. Jordan, Tom Clancy thriller that's dropping on Amazon Prime on Friday. So we're going to be watching that and giving our super quick review. Well, the review won't be quick, but we will have the quickest reaction on the internet to it without remorse. But yeah, that's the other guys on twitch.tv/upNXT, which is spelled NXT podcast. That's every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. That's me and myself, John Cino. Other than that, just a whole bunch of wrestling and waiting for the world to get back to normal. We've started to get TV spots for movies. It's pretty exciting. Granted, the TV spot I saw was for Nomadland. However, that's beside the point. It's coming. The movies are coming back. So, yeah, very excited.
Fingers
and thanks
crossed.
again for having me on. I had a fantastic time. I'd love to come back next year with a vengeance.
100%.
Point to prove.
Ooh. Yeah.
Nate, any Twitch news you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, listen, full steam ahead. Pokemon Snap is going to be out in less than 48 hours as of this recording, so very stoked for that. Snap Sundays, 9:30 p.m. EST over at twitch.tv/NatePlaysGames. We're gonna take pictures of all the Pokies and open up some Pokemon packs. I've got some very expensive Pokemon packs. Plus, we're gonna have a new trivia night where you can actually win some Pokemon cards and some other really cool prizes. So definitely check out the Discord in the link below of the podcast notes and join me for Snap Sundays.
Yeah, the last time I jumped on for the trivia, it was a lot of fun. You really need your Pokemon A game, that's for sure.
Yeah, these prizes are really high-end prizes, okay? So I'm not just giving it to you because you know what Bulbasaur evolves into, okay? You got to study up and be ready. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so very much. I look forward to doing this again next year and everything fun and exciting that we'll be doing in between. So until next time, take care, guys. And as we always say,
In a bit, lads.
Love ya.
stay home safe.
Peace.